we're going to be doing today is we're going to continue talking about end behavior and how to describe it. Okay? We are on 3-5. The first part was continuity. Now we are going to be describing end behavior. Well, I'm going to bring it over here. Screen. Don't worry, I'm not going to use it on anyone. So we're going to describe end behavior. So, in your graphing calculator, we're going to type in our equation, x to the 4th, all right, minus 2x to the power of 3, and plus x. And then you're going to hit the graph. Now, if your graph doesn't look like this on your graphing calculator, hit zoom number 4, and it kind of gives you a better picture of the graph. Zoom 4. Most of you have this graph on your paper, all right? But if you don't, what I'd like you to do is, right now, look how it goes through right here at 0, 0, and it goes through 1, 1. Make a decent estimate of that on your paper if you want to make this 1, 1, and this positive 1 and negative 1. Make the graph go through 0, 0, and 1, 0. So right here we have 0, 0, and 1, 0. And it looks like the graph comes down, bottoms out, and goes back up. So just make a reasonable graph. We have a graph that comes down, bottoms up, comes up through 0, 0, goes down through 1, 0, and then goes back up. Let's go ahead and make that on your paper. Doesn't have to be perfect, but right here, I want you guys to understand when we're talking about end behavior, this is the direction that the graph is going. It's going this way, and it's also going this way. So end behavior is, think about as the graph goes to one side or the other, as it's going to negative, towards the negative x's or the positive, where is it going to end up? Okay? So think about that as you're graphing. All right? Now, on your graph, what I'd like you to label, this arrow right here, dealing with the x values, is going essentially towards this concept called positive infinity. All right? So over here, why don't you label this negative infinity? And the y values going up, f of x are y values, that's going up towards positive infinity. And way down here, the y values are going towards negative infinity. Okay. Now, this is where you're going to, what I'd like you to do in your journal, okay? I'm going to give you a chance right now. In your journal, I'd like you just to transfer the equation and your sketch of the graph in your journal. We're going to write down sentences to go with this, okay? All right. In your graph, I want you guys to look at where do we think this is going to end up. This is slightly going to the right. So eventually, all right, it's going towards which direction? All the x values are going towards what? Positive infinity. So this is going, the end behavior for all of my x's are going towards positive infinity. What's the end behavior for all of my y values? It's going up. So it's also approaching what? Positive infinity. So what I'm doing right now, think of it as, these are called soft brackets, which means I'm not including the number. Okay, I'm just saying my x values are going towards positive infinity, my y values are going towards positive. Okay, I'm going to change colors over here. Let's look at this part of the graph, this arrow, all right? The end behavior. Which direction is this going as far as my x's? Not my y's, my x's. It's going which direction? Negative. It's going in negative, bless you, negative infinity. But where are my y values heading? They're heading towards positive infinity. All right? So the end behavior for this part of the graph, the x's are going in the negative direction, but the y values are going in a positive direction. So here's how we're going to write this down. I'm going to write down the answer to this one in words first. All right. So basically, my y values, okay? The y values approach positive infinity as the x values, or as x approach negative infinity. I'm using this magenta color to describe that's what's happening in this portion of the graph. The y values approach positive infinity as the x values approach negative infinity. Okay? Now, that's a lot of words to write, so I'll give you a chance to write those down. Now, when I'm talking about my y values, that refers to f of x. Okay? So right here, when it says, when I'm talking about my y values, I'm not going to write y, I'm just going to write f of x. So as f of x approaches, I'm going to highlight this part right here. The approaches, everybody, is talking about this. So as my y values approach positive infinity, you're going to write positive infinity. So my y values approach positive infinity as x approaches negative infinity. And that right there is one of your answers. All right? And what is the arrow basically saying? The arrow is saying that as it approaches towards this concept. All right? So as my y values approach positive infinity, as my x values approach negative infinity. Okay? Yeah, you can put that in your journal and you can put that on your paper. This is one of the answers to number 7. This is one of the answers to number 7. And what is this describing once again? This is describing the graph's end behavior. Like where's it going? Where's the destination? Alright? Where's it going? The end is where? Alright? Where's the destination for my y values? Positive infinity. Where's the destination for my x values? Negative infinity. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is right over here, I'm going to scroll up real quick, and let's look at the next one. So over here we have positive infinity and positive infinity. But this right here, these are referring to our x values, these are referring to our y values. So let's think about what sentence I'm going to write. One thing's going to be the same. I'm going to put the y values, this is in blue, the y values approach positive infinity as the x values approach. How am I going to finish this sentence though? Positive infinity. Positive infinity. Okay? So, these are the words that you're going to write down. And this is going to be the sentence, the second part of your answer. This is all you have to put on your paper. All right? You're going to have both of these in your journal so that you understand what you're writing down. Okay? Anybody want to guess what I'm going to write here in the box?
F of x approaches positive infinity.
Okay, hold on. Before approach. Good, you're doing good. But what am I going to draw in? I'm going to draw in a... Very good. So as f of x approaches...
Positive infinity.
Okay.
As x approaches... Or positive infinity.
Positive infinity. Very good. All right. So my y values, f of x, approach positive infinity as my x values also approach positive infinity. Okay? And this is describing the what? The end behavior on the right side of the graph.
So,
Okay.
go ahead.
You're going to have both of them. You have two answers. Because, all right, what you're going to do, all right, I'm going to, one second, let me pause it real quick. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take these answers and you're just going to place them right here on number 7. Okay? Now, all of these words I want in your journal to help you understand what you're writing down. Like what does the arrow mean? It means approach. Okay? What does f of x mean? That's talking about my y values. Okay? So let's do one real quick. This one won't take long. All right? Let's look at let's say, we done number 5? Do number 5. Tell me the equation there for number 5. 2x to the power of 5 minus 4x. Let's take a look at this. Wow. Okay. So, hold on. Let me take a look at this. So it looks like it's ending up what? It's going here, and it's going way down here. So what I always do first is I always label where I'm approaching. Over here, where are the x values approaching? Positive infinity. Where are my y values approaching? Negative infinity. No, that would be positive infinity right here. Where it's going up. My y values right here, Brian. Oh, I know, but Brian, right now I'm writing up here. So if I'm writing up here, I'm referring to what's happening up here. Now, Ryan, if I was saying, okay, Ryan, what's happening down here? Negative infinity and negative infinity. Okay? So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this one first.
You want to put them on the paper?
Yes.
At the end of it?
Yeah. So what I'd like you to do, here's a strategy. Label where it's going first before you write your sentences. Okay? When I say sentences, I'm talking about this. F of x, which is talking about my y values, where are they approaching down here? They're approaching negative infinity as my x values also approach what? Negative infinity. So this gives me a map of how to write my answer. This is one of your answers right there. Okay. So one of my answers is f of x approaches negative infinity as x approaches negative infinity. Up here, I'm going to change my color to blue. How am I going to write this? F of x approaches what? My y values approach positive infinity as x approaches positive infinity. If students mess up, let me tell you where they mess up. They mess up when they end up switching the negatives and positives. All right? Understand, your f of x is always dealing with your y values. So it's something you need to make sure you understand. Your y values are dealing with f of x. I did do a very good job of drawing an x right here. So this negative sign is referring to the y values. Those are the answers I'm looking for on problems 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm looking for 2 answers for each of them. Okay? So why don't you guys go ahead and finish those up.